Hey guys, how you doing today? Today I went on down to Trinity Bellwoods, which here in Toronto is one of the largest tent cities that exists here in the city of Toronto. Took some footage, took some pictures. I'll be going through them as I talk about my experience, what I saw. I mean, it's very difficult for me to conclude anything other than that this is the plan of the wealthy and the powerful. That the plan is to have us all eventually just live homeless in tents, in small little cottages that are built on little pockets of public land. Uh, and this is especially becoming more and more obvious as gigantic corporations buy up all the land and buy up all the housing, which they'll turn around and rent to us at exorbitant rates, plunging us further and further into debt peonage, plunging us further and further into this catastrophic downward spiral that we're all experiencing together. And I go and I take a look at what's happening at Trinity Bellwood Park, and I think to myself, this is it. This is the logical conclusion of all of this. That the wealthy will retreat into their palaces, behind their gated communities, and their gigantic police forces, and abandon the lot of us to tents in parks. I mean, some of the imagery that I'm seeing, people had brought paint to give the people living in these parks something to do, I wager. And some of the artwork that I was seeing is quite stunning, in fact. The Toronto city skyscape, except it's disintegrating in front of our eyes. Expressions of rage and angst. Expressions of revolution, expressions of resistance. These people have been abandoned. We're all going to be abandoned in this same way. It's right in front of our faces. It's very clear and it's very obvious. And yet we seem completely incapacitated and completely incapable of actually doing anything about it. We're all still just like kind of crossing our fingers and hoping beyond hope that some savior comes to actually resolve this, and that's just not going to happen. There's not going to be a savior. There's not going to be some politician that swoops in and actually attempts to confront capital and actually attempts to make anything happen, because any politician that gets into a position where they're going to be elected is already going to pay massive fealty to their corporate owners and overlords in the first place. They're not going to be able to get into a position where they're elected to be a premier of a province or the prime minister of Canada without paying total fealty to the corporate owners who actually own this place and who, incidentally, are completely fine with people living in tents, are completely fine, and whose seminal statement will be things like, oh, well, they're just lazy, right? They're just lazy. That's what Jeff Bezos thinks. That's what Jeff Bezos says. That, oh, his own workers are just lazy, which is why it's completely acceptable to burn them out and toss them out and use them like garbage, right? One of the largest employers in the world thinks we're all trash and is very upfront about it. Now seems like a good time to say, hey, like, share, subscribe, right? Don't forget to hit the bells. Don't forget to hit the whistles. This is a revolutionary project that we are embarked on. We genuinely need to get ourselves organized in order to fight back against these rapacious sociopaths who are completely fine with abandoning us to tent cities, completely fine with throwing us out on the street, completely fine with having us live in homelessness and poverty. And hey, if you want to keep me off the street, keep me out of one of these tent cities, maybe donate a few dollars down below, eh? Think about it. And oh, finally, I have a live stream, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please join. Please join the revolutionary project. And there was this really beautiful moment that occurred while I was there. Two young women standing in the middle of everything did a little prayer between themselves, praying for the people who lived in the park, praying that there would be reprieve, praying for mercy. And then they went from tent to tent and offered from their backpack some sandwiches that they had. Just something small that they could do to bring a little reprieve to the abandoned. And it gets me thinking about, what am I doing and how can I participate and what can I do? And bringing attention to this is what I want to be doing. I hope that this is helping. I hope that it is reaching someone. Because when I take a look at our politicians here, I mean, Doug Ford is a sociopath. He doesn't give a fuck about this at all. He would just be like, oh, those people just need to get jobs. Because he's such a huge loser. And he's just like this loser college dropout drug dealer that doesn't accept, that basic empathy exists in the first place. I think empathy and compassion confuse him. I don't think he actually genuinely understands the concepts, even theoretically. That to Doug Ford, it is all about just gobbling up as much as you can for yourself, and the assumption that everyone else is doing the same, right? And then Andrea Horvath, this issue is invisible to Andrea Horvath. I've never heard her speak about it. I've never heard the NDP talk about it. I take a look at the new ads that she's released, and I think they're pathetic. I think they're weak. I think they're stupid, frankly. I think Andrea Horvath is setting herself up for yet another loss, a la Tom Mulcair, right? The NDP seem completely incapable of actually running a campaign that galvanizes the energy of the populace, preferring instead to rely on soft piano music and stupid smiles while tiptoeing around the issues, right? They're fighting a literal sociopath, and they're saying things in the most soft, limp possible way that they can say them, boring everybody, attracting nobody, galvanizing no energy, and it's going to lead them to yet another catastrophic loss. And embarrassingly, their own fault, where they'll be confused about why it happened for some reason, even though it continuously occurs over and over again. And it's because they refuse to actually be honest. They refuse to actually show us the wounds, right? They refuse to actually show us what is happening and discuss what is happening with truth and honesty. And then Doug Ford will come out with some ridiculous slogan again, some dim-witted promise, and galvanize the populace in that direction, and he'll defeat the NDP because they're too weak and stupid to realize that, have Andrea Horvath stand in front of these tents. Go to the tent city. Show these tent cities and say, look at these things. Why are they here? And let Doug Ford say that, oh, Andrea Horvath and the NDP are using these as political pawns. Let him make this cynical political statement and reveal to everyone that he's a fucking sociopath, while we're pointing at people living in tents and saying, hey, have you noticed how there's people living in tents and nobody's doing anything about it? And it's not like we couldn't. It's not like the government couldn't requisition housing. It's not like the government couldn't get a hold of housing and get these people into permanent housing, right? But that would require confronting the death cult. That would require confronting the death cult ideology, right? That worships money and insists that, oh, well, if you have no money, it must be because you have offended God, which is the invisible hand of the market, right? If you have no money, it must mean that you are morally inferior, because everyone knows that having money makes you the best person. That in this culture of money worship, where money has replaced God itself, we can say the most insipid, stupid, reductive things possible, because the only thing that actually matters to anyone is how much money do you have. Forget about what life has done to people. Forget about any kind of actual religious story. These people clutching onto their Bibles they don't read, telling us that I feel so sad for these people living in tents. I'm going to go vote conservative now. These nightmare sociopaths who are doing everything they can to delude us into believing they give a shit when they don't. Classic liberalism. And we're all just supposed to go along our merry way and continue working for these sociopaths, right? Oh, I can't imagine why I'm having trouble finding workers for my job where I treat them like garbage, and I'm going to throw them out into the streets into homelessness the second it makes me a penny. Can't imagine why people are not participating in that. Can't imagine why people are choosing instead to avoid capitalists at all costs. Can't imagine why this is turning into a situation where, we're abandoning them back. Like, I can't possibly imagine why that would be the case. Go take a walk through this tent city and really realize and recognize that this is resolvable. It's resolvable. We have the resources. We have the ability. We have everything we need in order to do it. We just don't give a fuck. We just don't care. We could do so much better than this. We could be so much better than this. But we're not. That's what's sad about this story. We have all this potential, we have all this ability, we have all this technology, we have all this resources and wealth, right? But at the end of the day, we're just fascists. We're just fascists who are completely fine with abandoning the poor, abandoning the disabled, abandoning people into these tent cities, and then telling them that it's their fault. Turning around and blaming the victim of this capitalist system that is designed to collapse and is designed to fail. And as this gets worse, because it is going to get much, much worse, the fascists are going to get louder, the fascists are going to get more aggressive, the fascists are going to get more demanding about what is to be done about the ever-growing pool of homeless people that exist, and their solutions will be taken seriously by people like Doug Ford while they clutch onto the Bible, try to tell us anything about how to live our lives while they actively work to abandon us. Okay, this is the end of this. Stop voting conservative, stop voting liberal. Hard stop. Just hard stop. If you're voting conservative, you are evil, and if you're voting liberal, you're gullible. It really is that simple. This is the end of this video, guys. As you can tell, I'm pretty pissed off about it. I'm pretty upset about this. Because it's so obvious. Like, it's so obvious what we could be doing. It's cheaper to just house people. It's cheaper to just give them homes, right? It's cheaper to do it, but it would mean confronting sociopaths. And people like John Tory, right, and probably Andrea Horvath too, are just weak. They're too weak and sad and pathetic. They don't have spines. They're not going to actually do that. They're just going to let these people live in homelessness, watch as the homeless problem grows, watch as things get worse, and say things like, well, my heart goes out to them. Well, go fuck yourself then. We don't need your sympathy. We need your action. All right, like, share, subscribe. Hit all the bells, hit all the whistles. You want to keep me out of one of these tent cities? You can donate $1 into the Patreon below. Come to the live stream, 6 to 9. The people who come to that live stream say that it's a great place to come to find solidarity. Because everybody is very, very concerned about their future with homelessness. Because that is the future for millions of us. Right? We've seen it before in this country. It's coming back. We see it. It's right in front of us. And we could do something about it, but we're too gullible and stupid and cowardly. It won't be until, like, there are masses of people on the streets that anything will actually be done about this. We deserve better than this. As I say all the time on this channel, you guys are doing really wonderfully out there. You really are. I know you're doing your best. I know you're making good decisions for yourself and the people around you. I know you're trying to recover from this capitalist disaster, the exploitation and the abandonment that capitalists have put on our doorstep. I know you're trying your best. You are a divine being standing on divine energy. We could use some of it right now. Good luck. We're going to need it.